Do you remember way back like 2 years ago when AI generated images would give you like people with 6 fingers, the text said absolutely nothing at all, or when you composited a person into a background, it looked like they weren't there? And ChatGPT just quietly made a huge leap from its previous imaging model to ChatGPT Images 2.0. And it is, for my money right now, the best image generator in any of the AI tools. In this video, I'm going to show you some practical real-world examples of what it does well and a couple things it wasn't doing fantastically, but I'm going to walk you through all kinds of new features in Images 2.0. I think this is a great place to start. This is an image that I made the other day for a video I was working on, and the entire prompt was very simple: a woman sitting by the river with a sunset behind her. The image on the left over here looks mostly like a person. They're a little too glossy. It looks at very best like a catalog shoot. The image on the right looks like I just photographed a friend of mine on the banks of the river. Sunset over here does not really look real at all. Everything over here looks really, really real to me. I also think it's interesting that in both of these simple prompts, I got some of the exact same things. This lamppost over here and this lamppost over here are identical, and they sit on the exact same point at where this trail curves around them. So it's interesting that you can see that they're pulling from the same source, completely different image quality. This is another image that I did not realize was made in Images 2.0 and not 1.5. And so the prompt here was very simple. I did not write it down. Essentially, I said, a man wearing a t-shirt that says Canva AI 2.0, surrounded by a number of screens. Some of them are Instagram thumbnails. There's at least one deck in there, and there's a check sheet and some other documentation in here. And I built all of this, including all of the text. 5 AI tools that save hours, Canva AI 2.0, what now, the future of work, AI and human collaboration. I did not tell it to do any of these things. I have the word Canva AI 2.0 in my prompt, and the things that it made have AI in it, including Canva AI 2.0, what's new. I don't know where it got these references, but the text is perfect and readable in every single one of these. Intelligent solutions, real results. Partner with us to drive innovation, optimize operations, and achieve measurable growth. I did not tell it to do that. It's like 6-point text. Look how small this is. And it is all correct. That is amazing to me. I also asked it to make it in one of those big warehouse style offices with big windows on the left-hand side and light coming in from them. And what I asked for the images were to have them swirling around the guy. So it even made this swirling effect that I never would have thought of to ask for in a prompt. I think the one problem with this is that the text on the shirt doesn't look like it's following the texture of the shirt. So let's see what happens. I'm going to jump back in here and say, the text on the shirt needs to look like it follows the folds and creases of the shirt. It looks too static now. Look at that, one sentence and I have it looking much more like it's following the folds. It's still a little bit fake looking. The 2.0 is crooked. You can see that my chest is level down here in the picture, but the 2.0 is crooked, but I could go back and try and fix that. But that was one sentence change, and it kept everything else the same. I didn't have to tell it to keep everything else the same, which you would have had to do as a negative prompt in previous versions. I went to school for graphic design, so this one particularly blew me away. So I said, generate a printed single-page restaurant menu for a Vietnamese restaurant called Pho Saigon House. The menu should look real, professionally printed physical menu you would hand to a customer on a table. Now, I didn't ask it to give me something you could hand off to get printed, but I wanted it to look like a real menu. So you could put this on the restaurant website, for example. I used ChatGPT Chat in order to come up with this menu, and I'm not going to say the names of these dishes because I don't know how to pronounce them, and I also don't know what they are, and I didn't have to know what they were because ChatGPT looked online and found a typical menu for a Vietnamese place, at least I think this is typical, with pricing and descriptions. This is the restaurant menu that it came up with. It picked the bamboo, it picked the flowers, it picked the background and the colors. It made itself a logo for this restaurant in English. But then I thought, what would happen if I wanted to give this menu to a Vietnamese customer who speaks Vietnamese? I simply asked it to make the menu in Vietnamese. The text is readable. I assume it's correct. If you speak Vietnamese, let me know in the comments below. These prompts were like 2 sentences. Make me a menu for a Vietnamese restaurant and turn that menu into Vietnamese. Unbelievable night and day difference. As you saw before with the t-shirt example, one of the very hardest things to do in AI image generation is to get text to follow a surface. So what I wanted to do with this prompt is do a couple of different pieces of text on different surfaces and see how it came out. And this is all generative. It made all of the surfaces. Generate a landscape 16:9 photo real scene. By the way, make sure you say photographic or photo real, or you give it an example of what kind of lens you might want to use. Those kind of prompts make these as opposed to making more cartoon looking images. So generate a landscape 69 photo real scene of a cozy kitchen table, warm morning, shallow depth of field, and natural shadows. Include all of the following objects in the scene. Every single piece of text must be perfectly readable, correctly spelled, and rendered naturally on the surface. Okay, so 1 is a curved ceramic coffee mug with the text printed on it, morning workflow. 2 is a small craft paper bakery bag with a stamp style label reading fresh batch daily. 3 is a smartphone laying flat on the table, and it says what it's supposed to do. I'll get back to that in a second. That's the one part that didn't work well. 4, a glass jar with a slightly glossy label reading focus blend with smaller line underneath it that says green tea plus L-theanine. 4, a fabric apron hanging on a chair in the background with stitched text shoot day. Let's look at this more carefully. I think I nailed this one because you can see that the lines of the paper are really adjusting where this stamp looks. I think that this one was particularly good. I like that it rendered some text on the back like it was a product jar. It does really look like a jar of pot rather than green leaf tea, but that's not so bad. The problem with here is that the stitches are completely sharp and the apron is not completely sharp. Here's the big thing that it didn't do right for me. It has the angle of the iPhone over here, and it's trying to match the angle with the text, but it angled it kind of the wrong direction. The text is going this way, it should go that way. Let's try and edit that. Let's see what happens. The text on the phone is slanted in the wrong direction. Make the text on the mug look more debossed into the surface. Change the tea in the focus blend jar to look like powdered matcha. The text on the apron is in sharp focus while the apron is blurred. Change that. Now it did all of the changes I asked for except one, which was the phone is still having problems. Now I have the text on the mug debossed, which makes it look like it was baked into the ceramic. I've changed the pot-looking tea into matcha tea. I changed the blurriness on the shoot day section, although now that it's blurry, you can't really see the stitches. And again, the phone is not done correctly. I don't think that this wispy steam over here looks really good. That looks kind of fake, so let's get rid of that now. Now let's remove the steam coming off the mug. In previous image generation models, it would have re-rendered this whole scene again. You would have had to have shot a reference photo, uploaded the reference photo, hope that it used the reference photo. It would not have used the reference photo, and you would have had to keep iterating with it until you got back to something close to what you had originally asked for and originally gotten. This one for me is absolutely unbelievable. On the other channel where I do product reviews, I often need to get hero shot images to go on a review. Those normally require setting up a product shoot with lighting and backgrounds, and this is a product that I said I need to review. I took this image, uploaded it into ChatGPT Images 2, and I gave it a couple of prompts. I used one prompt to generate 3 images. Please do the following 3 edits as 3 separate output files, keeping the product itself, its shape, lighting, shadows, details identical in all 3. Output 1, clean studio. Replace the background with a pure white seamless studio portrait background. Soft, even lighting, professional product photography look. The product's existing shadows should be preserved or naturally repeated. Output number 2 was lifestyle scene. Place the product on a wooden desk in a warmly lit home office. Natural window light. On the left, a few tasteful background props, a plant, a notebook, a coffee cup, but nothing that competes with the product. Shallow depth of field, so the background is slightly soft. And that's it. It gave it to me perfectly. And then output number 3 would be dark, dramatic background, deep charcoal or dark navy, single spotlight on the product from above and slightly left, high contrast, premium product and advertising look, think Apple or Sony product page. And this is what it got. Probably have done this in Photoshop, but it would have taken me a lot of time over there to get it right, and it nailed it on this one in the very first try. And Images 2.0 isn't just great now for doing photos, it's great for doing graphics as well. So I said generate a single professional slide designed to be used as a YouTube channel media kit, 1-pager. The slide should be landscape, 16:9, clean and modern with pastel colors. I gave it some numbers in here. These are fake numbers, but I could pull this from my Google Analytics, give it to it as a document, and then it would make the real numbers. All text must be crisp, correctly spelled, and properly aligned. The layout should look like a slide from a real media kit. And this is what I got. Everything's done correctly in text. I have to add up these numbers because I can't do math in my head. 38 plus 15 plus 25 equals 100. It even got the percentages correctly. Title of my channel, but it is very close. I do talk often about honest real-world reviews. I've talked about that in ChatGPT. So it has looked at my previous conversations with ChatGPT, has figured out some of the stuff that I say in my scripts, and it has made that as part of this presentation doc. That's just crazy. So then I wanted it to test how it could take images and put them into different styles, and so originally I was going to have it generate a woman and do it in a graphic novel style, but then I decided just to upload one of my faces as a prompt. So, generate a set of 8 consistent illustrated panels telling a short visual story. The style should be clean, modern graphic novel illustration, bold outlines, flat colors, expressive but not cartoonish. The main character is the subject in the reference images. He must look identical in every single panel, same face, same hair, same jacket. Then I left the she into the prompt, but it does not care. Apparently ChatGPT Images is gender neutral. And I gave it some instructions. Now this wasn't exactly how I wanted it. I think that the photos here were too photorealistic and not enough graphic novel style, so I just told it that I thought that the images looked too realistic and they needed to look more like a graphic novel. And then what it gave me is this, which I think absolutely nails it. And the funny thing for me is that because this was all one conversation in ChatGPT, it included in here the things that it had done previously for me, as if I was making a graphic novel while I was sitting at work and coming up with media kits and stuff like that using the prompts from before. I have another channel which is a product review channel, and on that channel I review a lot of 3D printers. And so I got a new printer in the other day. I wanted to test it. It's got a new technology that lets you do 4-color printing very quickly. And so what I wanted was something that I could print out to test the quality of the printer, and this is the thing that I ended up printing out. The printer is from a company called Snapmaker, so I call this Snappy, and I think that Snappy should be the company's mascot for the printer line, but anyhow. And my prompt for this one was pretty simple. A large and friendly looking monster that's got the colors purple, red, black, and beige. Those are the colors that were loaded into the printer. It is for a 3D printed model, so flat colors with no lighting, shading, or gradients. It should not have thin parts sticking off of it, as that would be too delicate to print. Big eyes, big smile, white background, no shadows, the body should be purple. And again, it made snappy. So then I used this program called Meshy.ai. I took that original model, I put it into Meshy.ai, and now I have that 3-dimensional model. Another thing that a lot of AI imaging models don't do very well is take something like a static image and make it into a real scene. And so I took this prompt over here. This adorable monster rampaging through the streets of a major city. He is as tall as a building, and he has his foot up about to crush a car as he walks. He should still have the same look and raised hand, like he doesn't know he's damaging things, he's just coming to say hi. And then I gave a lot of specifics about the image that I wanted, and I mentioned that I wanted the purple flat color to be fur. And this image is what I got back. This is exactly what I wanted with one prompt. No changes whatsoever. This to this, 2 AI tools, and like 2 prompts. This final one that I want to show you is all about the consistency without having to give it consistency prompts. My son plays Warhammer 40K. He's really into painting the models. The models are very expensive, so sometimes I resin print some 3D models that he can practice painting on. There's a race called the Tau, and I had Claude make me a spreadsheet that had the different types of figures that are in the Tau army with the different types of weapons, and for others that I had it do, I just grabbed one line of a spreadsheet and I pasted it in after I gave it this instruction. I am making resin printed models for a tabletop game. The figures are based on the Tau in Warhammer 40K, but I want to vary these. These are proxies for painting practice. I had to say that because it would not make models originally with the word Warhammer in it unless I mentioned that I was practicing painting, and then it violated the trademark. I don't know. I will give you a row of weapons, armor style, and likely pose. Create a 2x3 grid with gray figures front and back in the top row, then colored versions of the next row, and then a base for the figure on the third row. What it did is it came down here and it decided to make this chart because I had a 2x3 table and there was nothing in this bottom right corner, and so it decided to put in the information about the faction, the species, the unit, and the pose. Now you'll see that I have it called the tail over here, and that's because I don't want to use the word Tau, so it came up with another name for the species and we put it in here, and now I have things I can 3D print off of a resin printer, plus the things my son can use for references for painting, and the names, the pose, and the weapons. 100% I would not have been able to get this done recently. It just would not have happened. So ChatGPT Images 2.0 in my mind is now the strongest, best imaging model of all of the imaging models. I used to use Nano Banana all of the time. I have switched now almost entirely to using ChatGPT Images 2.0. I think it is fantastic. If you've been using Images 2.0 for anything, let me know in the comments what kind of things you've been making, or if you've tried it and you like a different model better than this, let me know in the comments what it is and why it is. This is Agent Baltic, I'm David Schloss, and I, for one, welcome our AI overlords.